Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. And I want to start off with SHTFPlan.com. They did a great piece today entitled "Few Are Prepped for a Stock Market Shock. As debt collapse nears, Wall Street has blinders on." This is eerily familiar of the whole experience with the year 2000 dotcom bubble that went, of course, the stock market just exploded in a very short period of time. You had monster growth, and then all of a sudden the rug was pulled out from underneath everybody, and I mean people lost their shirts. It was a crazy time right around the time of the Y2K fear and all that kind of stuff. Well, the article starts off as with a Bible verse from Proverbs: "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." And it says fresh stock market highs are giving everyone the holiday season cheer that encourages spending and inspires optimism about the future under the incoming Trump administration. The market could hit 20,000, and investors are ecstatic, but reality is still looming over the desperately vulnerable economy. The Federal Reserve has announced that it's raising rates, and there is every indication that things could take a turn for the worse in the near future, particularly if the Fed stimulus over the past 8 years dries up. And that's, of course, what's been propping up the stock market. Now, as the cost of money begins to increase, interest payments are mounting, and debts may become unmanageable for some. But the so-called fear gauge on Wall Street, a volatility index, indicates that there's a disconnect with the disturbing systematic problems lying just below the surface, as nearly everyone inside finance is feeding off of short-term numbers and a positive news buzz. Now, it's hard. It's hard to make any sense out of the stock market these days because of just how rigged the entire game is. You know, you don't know what's right. You don't know what's wrong. You don't know what's legit. You don't know what's not. It's crazy. And, a lot of people have chosen to get out because it's just so stressful. Now you're seeing a time of just tremendous, rapid growth in the stock market. It's all bubble. It's a big bubble. And eventually this thing's going to burst. Now, if you're in it for the long run, as people say, and, you may end up making 7% year over year on average, and you're going to have your ups and your downs and all that kind of stuff. But what happens? What happens if the stock market goes kaputs? Are you ready for something like that? Many people aren't. Many people aren't. And I can't necessarily tell you to go out and buy silver and gold because I don't really believe in that. I believe that silver and gold is just as fiat as the paper money because it only has but so many uses. You can't eat it. You can't drink it. You can't defend yourself with it unless you throw it at somebody. It's kind of heavy. And you have to have a lot of it, of course. But there are two precious metals out there that I think are a great investment for anybody out there that wants to diversify their portfolio. And those two metals, my friends, are brass and lead because you can get food if you need it. You can get water if you need it. You can defend yourself with it. It's very versatile, those two metals, especially when they're working in tandem with one another. So if you want to hedge against any sort of economic downturn, my advice is brass and lead, and we'll go with that. In other news, Obama, according to the LA Times, will use his executive authority to impose new permanent bans on offshore drilling. Of course, he's going to do this prior to departure. Going to make things a little bit difficult for everybody, that. And look, let's face it. We're not getting off oil anytime soon. It's just not going to happen. As much as we would like to see alternative energy, I mean, I want Mr. Fusion on the back of my car too. Don't get me wrong. But we're just not going to see it anytime soon because there's too much money to be lost getting off the oil train. We here in the United States have a lot of reserves and untapped resources in that regard. And to me, it's foolish that we're not utilizing those assets for ourselves if we're going to maintain this course. If we're going to maintain the oil course, all right, then let's utilize our own assets. Why are we supporting people in other countries overseas when we have the stuff here? Why aren't we benefiting the people here in the United States? Why are we continuing to prop up these kingdoms over in the Middle East that, basically are the henchmen of the powers that shouldn't be out there? Why do we support them? Hopefully a President Trump can overturn this, but apparently, invoking a rarely used provision in federal law, the Obama administration on Tuesday announced a permanent ban on offshore drilling in broad parts of the Arctic and Atlantic coast, a sweeping and controversial move that will help secure the president's environmental legacy, even as critics vowed to reverse it. Interestingly enough, the ban relies on the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act of 1953, which says the president may from time to time withdraw federal waters from oil and gas development that are not already leased. It was announced as part of a joint action with Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also made long-term, though not permanent, commitments to protect the Arctic from drilling. So here again, we have just a lot of political positioning that directly affects your well-being. Now, the environmentalists, of course, they have problems with this because look at what happens when these oil companies go and they drill. Of course, you've got pollution and you've got other things that happen and you have accidents, just like these pipelines. Yeah, don't worry. We'll put this pipeline through and it'll pump oil and it'll make things cheaper. I don't know. Haven't really seen much of a change in prices when pipelines go online and things like that. But we do see the environmental impact of these pipelines and oftentimes these oil rigs where you may have mishaps that can create some real potential problems for the environment and for the health of people in that area. So very, very interesting that this has been going on, this whole positioning of I'm going to, protect the environment. Is that really what it's all about? I really don't think so. But it just goes to show you government. Is this really what the government should be doing? I don't know. Should the government be looking into your emails? Well, Reuters is reporting that the Yahoo email scan shows the U.S. spy push is to recast constitutional privacy. They're trying to do it through the courts now, only not through the open courts, but through the FISA courts. That's right. It says Yahoo Inc.'s secret scanning of customer emails at the behest of a U.S. spy agency is part of a growing push by officials to loosen constitutional protections Americans have against arbitrary government searches, according to legal documents and people briefed on closed court hearings. The order on Yahoo from the secret Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court last year resulted from the government's drive to change decades of interpretation of the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment right of people to be secured against unreasonable searches and seizures. Intelligence officials and others familiar with the strategy told Reuters. The unifying idea, they said, is to move the focus of U.S. courts away from what makes something a distinct search and towards what is reasonable overall. The basis of the argument for change is that people are making much more digital data available about themselves to businesses, and that data can contain clues that would lead to authorities disrupting attacks in the United States or on U.S. interests abroad. Let me stop there. I can tell you right now, if you want to stop attacks from happening, you don't have to infringe on people's constitutional rights. You simply have to stop messing with people overseas and pissing them off. And if you stop pissing them off, guess what? They'll stop attacking us. If we start respecting their sovereignty and respecting their property rights and letting them live their lives, then perhaps we might not have that many enemies in the world after all. Perhaps we could sing a little kumbaya together, as a matter of fact. We don't need to surrender our Fourth Amendment rights. This, my friends, is just more of the same, using the fear vibe. Oh, the terrorists are going to get you. If we can't read that email, by God, the terrorists are going to get you. It's for your own good. It's for your safety. The government is here to help. The government's not here to help. The government's not here doing what they should be doing, which their mandate is to protect your rights, not to take them away. It's to protect them. Yet, we see the total opposite all the time. All the time. Many different examples. They'll protect your rights when it's convenient for them, but they'll take them away when it's convenient for them too. You see? It's all about convenience. Ruling with an iron fist. You know, that's why taxes. Basically, you're held at gunpoint. Do you really have much of a choice? I know people say, well, of course you do. You don't have to. Yeah, just, commit to spending years upon years in the slammer. It's strong-arm tactics. And that's the only way government can function. There's no respect for us. It's not there. It's not there. And I'll tell you, the behavior is laughable. People get caught up in these political movements and things like that, and political correctness. It's crazy. The Daily Sheeple. Lily Dane has an article she just posted. Racist schools are teaching students that whiteness is a problem. I mean, come on. What the hell is this? I don't get it. I don't get it. Here we were supposed to be talking equality, skin color. I was raised that skin color didn't matter, right? Well, apparently the way we were raised, I guess, just didn't cut the mustard. And now, my friends, if you're white, it's a problem. It says in the upcoming spring semester of 2017, 2 taxpayer-funded American universities, the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the University of Colorado in Denver, will offer undergraduate courses focused exclusively on how whiteness is a serious social problem. This according to the Daily Caller. The University of Wisconsin course is called The Problem with Whiteness. Here's a couple of excerpts from the class description. Here it is. After all, since white supremacy was created by white people, is it not white folks who have the greatest responsibility to eradicate it? Critical whiteness studies aims to understand how whiteness is socially constructed and experienced in order to help dismantle white supremacy. Whereas disciplines such as Latino, African, and Asian American studies focus on race as experienced by non-whites, whiteness studies consider how race is experienced by white people. It explores how they consciously and unconsciously perpetrate institutional racism and how this not only devastates communities of color, but also perpetrates the oppression of most white folks against the lines of class and gender. In this class, we will ask what an ethically white identity entails, what it means to be #woke, and consider the journal Race Trader's motto, treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity. Well then, writes Lily, the course is taught by Assistant Professor Damon Sajnani, who attempted to offer the college fix an explanation of his class. This is what he said. Quote, whites rarely or never questioned what it is to be white. So, you're going through life taking it for granted without ever questioning or critically interrogating it. Now, for Sajnani, one way to solve this is to offer, quote, the problem of whiteness, an analysis of what it means to be white and how to deal with it as a problem. The idea of talking about the problem of whiteness is to turn the question back to where it belongs, he says. One of the main goals in the class will be to understand race and identity and how it impacts lives on a daily basis. One of the talking points is juxtaposing white privilege and white power, and how the two can be intertwined and similar to each other. This according to the scholar. This, my friends, is where we're going in this country. Instead of advancing students and providing more money to the maybe engineering section of the school or to legitimate course, people are paying. Taxpayers are paying for this Yahoo to go and teach this. I mean, I'm outraged. I'm absolutely outraged. What the hell is wrong with people? I mean, seriously. Well, what does it matter? Does racism happen? Absolutely it happens. Absolutely. I'm not going to deny it. But this makes it worse. It amplifies it. Why would we do this and focus on this? And all it's going to do is perpetrate the problem. Whatever happened to love? Man. I mean, if we just loved each other, then maybe all this would go away. How about we just try that? Why do we have to put and waste how much in taxpayer dollars at multiple universities to push division when we should be pushing love? And love doesn't cost a thing. Ha! It's crazy. I wonder what the enrollment is on that class, just out of curiosity. Let's go over to Naples, because according to phys.org, it's a great physics site if anybody wants to check that out. Great peer-reviewed work over there. Naples, Italy, is astride a rumbling megavolcano. I did not know this, but very interesting. A slumbering Campi Flegrei volcano under the Italian city of Naples is showing signs of reawakening and may be nearing a critical pressure point. According to a study published Tuesday, Italian and French scientists have for the first time identified a threshold beyond which rising magma under the Earth's surface could trigger the release of fluids and gases at a 10-fold increased rate. That's not good if you live in Naples. And by the way, Naples isn't exactly a small city. We're talking about one of the major cities in Italy. Now, they say this would cause the injection of high-temperature steam into surrounding rocks, and lead author Giovanni Chiodini said that hydrothermal rocks, if heated, can ultimately lose their mechanical resistance, causing an acceleration towards critical conditions. I like that. That means she's going to blow. It's not possible at this time to say when or if the volcano will erupt anew, he said. If it did, however, it would be very dangerous. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad, again, I'm glad to see that all those university dollars are being well spent. So there's 500,000 people that live inside or near that caldera. So that's not good. That's like, I'm looking at this like a modern day Pompeii. Who knows? It's absolutely crazy. All I can say is a lot of earth changes taking place, a lot of things that are taking place spiritually, physically, mentally, with everybody I know, myself included. A lot of upheaval out there. A lot of darkness out there. A lot of darkness. It seems to be a prevailing trend here recently. And I can only hope and pray that 2017 is a much better year. And I hope that a lot of people out there experience a lot of prosperity because God knows we all need it. And I'll keep bringing this to you day in and day out because that's what we do here at thedailySheeple.com. And this was your daily news brief. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and subscribe to our newsletter at thedailySheeple.com. And I will have one again for you tomorrow. Have a good